Hello guys, I hope y'all are doing well. This will be sort of a fun video, but it can also be helpful if you tend to use a lot of computers that use Linux and you always have to like sort of reconfigure everything and install everything and just git copy everything to make sure that you're ready to work and be productive. What you will be able to basically do is rather than spending 20, 30, 40 minutes or even an hour setting your whole configurations, installations, environments, and everything like that, you will be able to just put time into creating a shell script that will show you how the one I created works and how you can be able to replicate some things and basically create your own shell script. So yeah, here I have a completely new environment, more specifically a virtual machine that is just a new fresh installation of Linux Mint. The script that I have is called debian install.sh, and let's run it. The first thing that you see is something that I programmed, but you don't have to worry about. I will not teach you these very specific things of like, hey, do you want to install this or not? That is something that you can also very quickly learn and implement if you want. But at the moment, let's say no. So what the script will be doing right now is installing absolutely everything from tmux. Let's say yes. Usually you have to like give only some confirmations, then you can let the commands run. Like for example here. So it's not like something you can leave in the background and just set everything up. You will have to do some yeses or nos depending on if you want to install specific things. For example, here we'll need to do enter. But it's basically that. I think so far it already installed things like Git, the Nala front end for apt, and it is currently installing Homebrew. So basically the things that I will do and set up on a like regular new computer for me to be able to be productive. So yeah, I'll let it run until it finishes, and then I will teach you how this works and how you can replicate and do something similar. So you don't have to spend an hour setting everything up on a new computer again and again and again. So as you can see, the script has finally finished installing everything, and as you can see, I've left some notes at the end of the script because these are things that are not necessarily be able to like set up on the terminal. So I leave things like the nerf fonts must be installed manually. But yeah, let's actually try using the computer how I will usually do. For example, entering tmux, it seems to have already enabled like my configuration or the thing that I have custom. Now let's enter neovim, and as you can see, it appears to be installing everything correctly. Here it should basically have my configuration and everything that I use or normally use, and yeah, as you can see, it appears to have even my own theme. So I can literally start being productive because I have almost everything installed and everything configured. The only thing, like I said, that I left as a note, as you can see here, is for the nerf fonts that like it shows this sort of weird icons, and the way to basically fix that is to install a nerf font manually on the terminal. But yeah, that is a showcase of how it would quickly work. So let me quickly explain you how it works before I teach you some things on how you can do it yourself. And as you may have noticed earlier, or you can see now, I executed a shell or .sh command that basically triggered all the installations in my personal Git configurations. To give you a quick gist of what it is that I have the shell script called debian install.sh, and the reason for this name is that the script is tailored to Debian based distributions. Depending on your distro, if you use Debian, Arch, or others, it will change. The required packages and installation methods may differ. For example, while using this script, it uses apt and Nala for package management. But if you're using an Arch based system, then what you will use is Pacman. The best way to create or maintain a shell script like this is to track step by step everything you do when configuring a new system and write those commands down, either in a list or directly into your own shell script. If that feels overwhelming, you can start with basic installation scripts like the one I'm about to create, and you can tailor it to what you will do when setting up a new system. So for example, here there are some sort of basic installs that I put on my script, like the Nala, and then after installing Nala, then I can execute the Nala front end, and then install Git, and then install Xclip to basically copy from the terminal. So yeah, and I'll also share some additional tips when creating a shell script, just like mine. So now to the part of actually creating the shell script. I will show you how to set this up with basic developer applications or tools like Git, including an IDE like NeoVim. So if you have a custom NeoVim configuration, I will demonstrate how you can include that into the script. Additionally, I will show you how to leave notes for any of the tasks that can't be automated with the shell commands, like I showed you before with my notes at the end. So you will have a reminder for those things whenever the script finishes running. But remember, this is just an example, and you can always add, remove, or change anything you want, since the sort of install.sh is usually something that is very personal and custom. So in order to create a .sh file, we can do something like touch install.sh, and then we can open it with our preferred editor. And the first thing that we need to add on specific bash scripts is this very specific line, which is written like this: bin and bash. So this will indicate the terminal that it is a binary file, or that is a bash script, and that you should run it as with sort of the bash protocol or language. I don't know exactly what it is. And after this, then we can just add anything that we want. For example, a very good practice is to always, of course, update our current file. So sudo apt update, and that will be the first command that it will run. For example, the next one, let's say you want to install a front end for apt, so you no longer have to use apt directly. So we can do sudo apt install Nala, which, if you didn't know, is basically a much better way to showcase installations with apt and basically making things clearer when installing things. And after that, then we can do, of course, the basic git install. So sudo nala install. I don't think you have to add like sudo to everything, but just in case, that's the way I usually like to do it. And the next one, which I believe is a basic thing to add to almost every Linux installation. I think some distributions have it as default or already installed, but it is the Xclip that I think I talked about before. So in order to install something a little bit more complicated, like a very specific installation where you have to like download a specific file and execute it and everything like that, what you can basically do is, if it is a command on the terminal, then you can run it. So the way to sort of install Homebrew that I always like to add on my systems, because I feel like usually everything that I install with Homebrew is quite stable, so I really like that. So the way to do it would be to first add the build essential, which basically we can use Nala for this one rather than apt. We'll add that, and let's say Homebrew installation, and after doing so, we'll have to create a file with this specific flags. I don't really know exactly what they are for, but we'll basically call it brew install.sh, and then copy and paste the actual URL from here. So now from this link, we'll create a local file called brew install.sh, and then we'll run that command, which will be bin bash and then brew install.sh. So that will allow that command to be run even in the command we're already running, which is our own install.sh. I mean, like, this is very specific. You don't need to like do it, but as I said, if there is an installation that only requires terminal commands, then you can just add them here directly. And then there's usually that first installation, which GCC, to make sure that brew works, and also brew doctor after. And this is basically what I have here, with sort of a caveat when it comes to like the installations. If like the command is run, then it will basically do like the brew doctor and the brew install GCC. But this is something I'm also thinking of removing, because I also have some commands that require brew. So this is kind of meaningless, this sort of if and else. But if you want, then the if and else is quite easy. Basically, this if command is if the command brew is present in dev slash null, then it will execute this, and if not, then it will basically say that the homebrew installation failed. So with this, we should have homebrew install, so we don't have to go to like different pages like I have here as a comment. We should have, yeah, the same sort of command and to basically run it here. So yeah, that's what you can do with guides, with tutorials. You can just copy and paste those commands in your actual install.sh. Now with homebrew and git install, we can install the required applications and even get our custom configurations installed. So let's create a very quick command to basically install Node, NeoVim, and Fuzzy Finder, which is something new that this sort of lazy Vim configuration requires, and we can do that with brew. But that's, like I said, what I want and the commands that I usually do when installing a new system. So we'll do id installation /neovim, and then we'll basically add the command to install neovim, node, and also Fuzzy Finder. And now with a neovim installed, then we can add the command for the configuration, which is usually a git clone. And I think I'd rather copy and paste the actual command from here to make because I think I have it on private. So basically with this command, it's the same command that you will copy and paste from GitHub. And I also added this, which is to basically just move it directly into the config file. So with just these few lines of code, we have our custom configuration and starter things to basically start working on with our IDE, or the one that I use, which is a NeoVim. Let's say there is a default application that you don't want. For me, one that I really don't like is LibreOffice. The one that I prefer is, I think it's called OnlyOffice or something like that. So I think Ubuntu and some other systems have it already installed or as a default application, and I always like to remove it. So the way I will do it, we'll put here remove LibreOffice, and anything related to that, we'll do sudo nala remove purge flag, and we'll do LibreOffice, and with this to basically target anything that has LibreOffice in its name, that is a package or that is installed on default. So with that, we have a very basic shell script. If you want to add the nodes I showed you before, like at the end, then you can basically do sort of an end here and do echo, which is basically a message or something that will be printed to the console, or yeah, basically the terminal, not the console. And I'll put things to note. Let's save it, then put another echo to make it in a different line, and we'll do something more aesthetically pleasing. Do something like the terminal. Nerf fonts must be installed manually, and yeah, there we go. Now we have our own little bash script. Let's actually run it. So we'll do this, then install.sh. Then I'll need to give permissions for this to be run, which is something I believe like this. Then let's run it back, and boom. Oh, password. Let's run it. It appears to be updating packages. Then it says nothing for now to do. Sclip is already installed. Build essential is already at the latest version. So it is going through the whole script. It is installing everything. Then as you can see, it detected the homebrew installation, but it says updating homebrew installation successful because we have already installed homebrew from the showcase that I showed you before. And as you can see, there was a fatal error, which is that basically the config already exists, and that makes sense because we added that in the showcase. So we can basically skip that and add our password. Let me check for what it was, and it's basically asking for the password because it will execute this last command, because the last one it ran with the fatal error had to do with this one, which we're trying to clone into the config and neovim folder. So let's run it, and that should remove everything LibreOffice related. As you can see, since it was already removed from before, then basically look through every package called LibreOffice and everything related to that, and then it just make sure that it wasn't installed, or if it was, then it would remove it. And as you can see, we have the note from here that we put, and nice, now we have just created our own bash script. So it is as easy as that. You can of course delve deep into specific things like options, like you can say yes or no, but those are things that you can simply just have a quick look and then add on your code. And it is as simple as just knowing the ifs and thens and basically what goes in between to create a conditional thingy, let's say. Yeah, there's a lot you can do with bash, but this will be like sort of a very good basic install if you have like NeoVim and just want that installed. But please, like I told you, make it your own script, add anything that you use or that you can potentially use across builds. You can install OBS, you can install any app, any configuration, anything that you have done in the terminal that you can add to your script and basically automate it, like we did in the showcase and like we did right now. So that was it for the video. This is the outro, and honestly, the installation went extremely well. I've never had such clean installation. Literally every command or custom command that I've have on my configuration works immediately. I only had to reset the terminal once, and after that, then everything just works correctly. Fuzzy Finder works. You can jump into the Debian here, and my keybinds work. Like the only thing that I showed you before was like the icons are a little bit weird. But honestly, every time I run this command and it runs as well as this or close to, I'm always very happy and very impressed because it's like I have everything I need to work right away. Like I don't have to waste time just trying to remember things and install things and crumble into things and then have to think back to, oh my god, how did I used to install this or how did I add that back into my system. Then you can just invest the time into creating something similar or at a smaller or even bigger scale so you can just automate your systems, and it is also fun to do. And yeah, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.